Hey guys, welcome to Joffre the Giant. I am here with my sister from Sweet Plantains, Jennifer herself.
Hello.
And we're going to do a video on homeschooling. I know I've done a couple of videos in the past on homeschooling. But we're going to do an entire series on what? Education, family, a little sex,
Hey.
brother and sister weirdness.
What could be weird about that?
So yeah, we're going to talk about homeschooling today. And I think we'll probably do a few videos on this topic. But let's start maybe by introducing ourselves. We both homeschooled as kids, and we both homeschool now. Maybe we could talk about our families right now first.
Okay, me first.
Great.
Well, Tony and I have 5 kids, and our oldest is 8, and he's in 2nd grade now. And so he's the only one we homeschool. The next one is 4. Denise will be going into kindergarten next year, so we'll have 2 next year. But for now, we just have it simple, just 1.
We also have 5 kids, as you know.
I do.
And we are homeschooling 4 of them. We have a 2-year-old who is not quite in kindergarten yet. So we're homeschooling 4 right now. So I am, as you probably already guessed, big brother, older brother. So my kids are ahead of her kids on the age curve. We both homeschooled though.
Yes.
Like as kidlets, we were homeschooled. For me, it was a little weird because I did the opposite. We're 6 years apart. So when we started, you were still pretty young, but I did the opposite of what a lot of homeschoolers do, where you homeschool in the beginning and then you hit high school and you want to do basketball or take chemistry, and so, I'm going to go to the local school. I actually started homeschooling in 7th grade, and then I graduated from high school. Was one of the first homeschoolers accepted into my college. A lot of the pioneering kind of stuff, not first generation, but 2nd and 3rd generation homeschooling. You had a different experience in the same family.
I started in 2nd grade, and when I went all the way through my sophomore year of high school, and then I did something called dual enrollment, where I went kind of split high school and college in my last 2 years of high school, and I played volleyball. So
yeah, the Tim Tebow law. We were in Florida, and this is actually before Tim Tebow, but my senior year was when they changed the law where you could play sports for your local school. And I opted not to do that. I just stayed with the homeschooling team I'd been playing with. But Jennifer started 4 years.
Yes.
Which is pretty good. Dual enrollment is actually one of the cool things about homeschooling.
Yes.
There are a lot of different ways this happens, but by the time you're halfway through high school, half of the homeschoolers out there are doing something outside of high school.
Yes.
Apprenticing or extended education, something.
Yes. And that's what I did. I already had 2 years of college under my belt when I started college for real. So it's one of the amazing things about homeschooling, I think.
What was it like to be a homeschooler in the 90s?
Weird.
Okay.
We were weird.
We were weird, but we were weird. Anywho.
Yes. And still are.
Yes.
If we should be honest.
Which, probably fed into why we homeschooled in the first place.
Yes.
But how much of that weirdness was because we were homeschoolers? How weird was it to be a homeschooler?
Well, I think that, I don't know that you can separate that. Our lives were just confusing to people. And so I think it was we just grab onto the identity of constantly being, if not weird, then very unique and off the beaten path. So
there is a comfort in not having any expectations. If you're normal, people expect things from you.
Right, exactly. But, I mean, if you're already the family that knows what corn syrup is and doesn't eat meat, and you homeschool, it's like, you could wear a kilt.
It's crazy talk. You're actually sounding a lot like a normal person in 2015.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that now. All right, so we were the family that homeschooled and didn't eat wheat.
Yes.
In 1995. Okay. 2015. 20 years later, are you a homeschooler who doesn't eat meat?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How is that perceived these days?
I think that it's more trendy than it was, much to my disappointment. But everybody knows what homeschooling is.
Yeah.
And if you meet someone who doesn't know what homeschooling is, that's weird now.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were kids, it was like, homeschooling, what is that? What
Yeah,
do
you would actually get what is
really
that?
don't even, like, they couldn't even think about what that would look like. And now people just accept it.
Well, do they accept it? Because, I mean, if everyone knows about it, we can talk about the flavor of it. I mean, what... In the 90s and in the 80s, there was a lot of hostility towards homeschooling, but it wasn't all hostile. There was a lot of institutional hostility. People, when they found out about it, would have a reaction. And I think more often than not, in my experience, it was positive. People now aren't finding out about it. You don't get that virgin reaction.
They accept it.
They accept that it exists. What do you think public opinion of homeschooling is? How difficult is it socially to homeschool?
I don't think that, well, and we have the comparison, so someone who's new to homeschooling might find it difficult, but for us, or for me at least, it's so much easier now than
And we're talking about the social aspect of things, right?
Yeah, so people have heard of it. They may even have heard of research about the positive aspects of homeschooling,
right.
How homeschoolers are self-starters, they're independent, employers are looking for them. I hear a decent number of people talking about that. And even older people whose children homeschooled their grandkids saying things like, it was weird, but now I see the fruits of it. So you're kind of getting like, yes, it's still off the beaten path, but you have more voices now kind of that are at least kind of saying good things about it.
Yeah.
And someone has heard something good about homeschooling.
And as people who grew up homeschooling, we have seen those families. We've seen other families grow up, friends of ours who begin homeschooling their kids, and so you can actually track the shift, the cultural shift, and kind of see how it's has impacted people you know. We live in South Carolina. We live in the same town. We've been here for a year now, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Almost exactly.
Yeah, and so yeah, we both homeschool here in South Kakalaki. Very homeschooling friendly. Ton of homeschoolers, to the point that South Carolina schools will throw money and a computer at you if you agree to homeschool through the state system. So they still get federal money. There are so many homeschoolers in this state, and it's generally positively seen. Overwhelmingly positively seen. It's just, it's the South, it's South Carolina, it's if you can flick off the government while you're living your life, even if people aren't going to make that exact choice, I think they respect it.
Yes.
But you've also homeschooled in Florida and in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Different attitudes?
Absolutely. In Florida, well, especially the town that we're from, Gainesville, is just very relaxed about many things.
College town.
Yeah. And they're into new things and progressive. I found that it was very homeschooling friendly. Pittsburgh was much different. They were very strict. The Pennsylvania is a state. And actually, more people hadn't heard of homeschooling there. Like, it was weirder there to homeschool.
Was it difficult to set up legally? Like, were there more hoops you had to jump through?
Well, that was the weird thing about Pennsylvania. There would have been hoops later on. Alex was only in first grade, and so you didn't have to register. I didn't have to register him with the school board until he was 8. So even if someone wants to send their kids to public school, I guess you can wait until they're 8. So we kind of flew in, and it was very convenient for us. I didn't have to do anything, but like as soon as you hit age 8 or 3rd grade, I forget if it's 2nd or 3rd, it's like they are on top of you. They are very strict. And here, it was like the complete opposite here in South Carolina.
They don't even have standardized testing here, which I'm all about. You people out there in YouTube land might be responding how slack South Carolina is. I love that the government leaves us alone. Standardized tests or no. Let our kids take some college entrance exams and let that be the bar. Yeah. Let's close this video out by talking about why we homeschool. So we both were homeschooled. We must have liked it at least a little bit because we've both chosen to homeschool our own children. Why have you done that? You, obviously, and Tony.
Yes. Well, what I loved about my homeschooling experience was that it taught me to think. And so when I moved from homeschooling into going into college, I realized that a lot of people weren't taught how to think. They couldn't do simple math calculations without a calculator. They couldn't understand, like, they didn't connect things as quickly as the professors even wanted them to learn. They really needed everything kind of spoon-fed to them.
Well, you know, there's a lot of discussion about how homeschoolers might not be ready socially or even academically, like as far as handing in assignments, that kind of thing, when they get to college. And, you know, I mean, those things can happen with any young man or woman, but I've also seen that so many people that come out of schools, and particularly government schools, are too institutionalized to succeed.
Yes.
Right. So your weaknesses will get exposed in whatever system you're in, but at least as a homeschooler, you learn to think.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that the education we'll give our kids isn't going to be spot on perfect. And I know that I even came out with gaps in my education that I filled later as I needed to, because I knew how to read and I knew how to educate myself and to think. And that's what I want for my kids. I want my kids to be able to go out into the world and make good decisions, to be able to think and be principled and live their beliefs out, and to look at the world and understand what's going on and not be lost without someone to hold their hand. So that's the main reason why we homeschool. Okay. That and I mean, I think that it's a great it's good for them to be part of their family, and of course to hand down our values to them. So
this, by the way, is the mathy one. My engineer of a father was very disappointed because I wanted to study history, but you know, you weren't as engineering and scientific as Dad would have liked,
no.
But you definitely shaded that way a little more.
It's true. I did take a calculus class in high school.
And so I have to say, you are a much more positive person than I suppose, because my primary reason for homeschooling, I'm actually not a do or die homeschooler. A lot of people are like homeschooling or death, right? It's the only way to do it for several reasons. But then there are people who think homeschooling is by far the best option. I don't even think of that. But I will say that of all the education options we might consider, we would never allow the state to educate our children.
Yes.
So that kind of simplifies it.
Yes.
So it's
when you have 5 kids to homeschool, you're not going to.
We're not sending them to a Christian school. Yeah.
Well, and I feel the same way, and I think that a lot of people are just very hardcore, like it's the only way to go, and it's not. I think that that's a good point to note, that it's not the only way to go.
Okay, the state shouldn't be educating my children. Well, who should be? Well, as a Christian, I believe the Christians around me and my church should be involved in educating my children, but primarily, and by far primarily, the family, the parents are responsible for their kids' education, regardless of the mechanisms you use to accomplish that. And so with homeschooling, that can really flourish, and you can really be involved very directly in educating and leading out and leading up and forming the little humans that you have. Not that they're just clay that you're going to mold or stone that you're going to chisel, they're going to come out exactly how you planned, and your plan, first of all, is so perfect. None of that's true. But the parents should be shaping and molding their children, absolutely. And this is such a wonderful way to do it.
Yes, and I think for anyone who is really actively involved, often if they're able to homeschool, they often do, because once you're that involved, you're just like, I might as well just do it.
Yeah, right. And then as the kids get old and they begin to flourish on their own and think on their own and study on their own, that's when you kind of branch out, dual enrollment or different clubs. And I volunteered at the Boston Museum of Science for 2 years in high school, and that was a fantastic experience. But whatever, you just start going out a little bit and doing your own thing and making your own education.
Yes.
Which is a really cool aspect of it. Well, guys, if you have any questions, drop some comments. But we would love questions and follow-up stuff, because we want to do some more of these videos. So provide us with fodder. I know that several of you homeschool and have sent me questions about homeschooling. We'd love some updates. We'd love some questions from you guys specifically. Any last words?
No.
You can plug your website.
Oh yeah, visit me at thesweetplantain.com. That's how long it's been since I've been.
But she's committing again.
So I'm there.
Tell the people what happens at the Sweet Plantain.
We do a bit, or I do a bit of natural living, DIY stuff basically it's just a reflection of my home. So whatever I'm doing here, cooking, whatever I'm thinking about with the kids, with homeschooling, relationships, anything that I'm thinking about, it's there. But it's a lot of natural living and cooking. So it's been a while. I took a very long maternity leave, but I'm back on there. So come visit me.
Right on. Joffre the Giant. Peace.